right, Devils, how we doing today? Wednesday, the 30th of October, and apparently we're going to front run our Bitcoin Friday. I just put out the poll, and well, overwhelmingly, Bitcoin was your first choice here, so we can get a look here, and we'll reevaluate as to whether it warrants another video on Friday. So, just kind of picking up where we left off here from last Friday. It was fairly good timing here. We got that big reaction off of the low down here. So a few things to note here, just a quick review here. We won't spend a lot of time on it, but the significance of this channel is pretty remarkable, right? So we've got, what do I want to do here? So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect touches of this channel, and then look where the low is. All right, center line. Now, center line is significant in the same way that the median line is significant with a pitchfork. So, and just to make this point, I've shown this before, but this is for any new viewers or new members, if you weren't aware of this. So if we put on the traditional set of median lines here, the pitchfork here, we were way askew here. But as I've told you guys before, a channel is just a modified shift. Or I should say a modified shift is just a channel, right? So then you get the median line here, so you can, whatever you prefer. But the advantage here in the channel is that we've got 4 touches. So I leave the channel on here, but some people like that, that target of the median line. So with that, and of course, right, we know this, right? We went over this last week. No surprise here. I'm right on it. Get right. There we go. Right to our golden zone. Big reaction. Right? And then where do we stop, right? So we go up and like, let's go into the moon. Where are we likely to stop? Well, last dominant before we go down. Get it right on there. So here we are, right? Same thing every day, every market, every time frame. Just algo's battling it out, right? So it never changes. Not that it won't. It couldn't change in the future, but right now this continues to be the dominant algo in the market, right? So just here we are stuck between 2 golden zones. So what's the trade? Well, this is on 3-hour here. There's a few things to note here. Now let's just so we get this, we can understand the range that we're in. So let's get these off of here. So this is hard to miss, right? Nice low volume node right here, and look where we are here. So this is also something quite common when we talk about this a lot. So you can think of it like a trend line. So the trend line from above we've been through, but now we're back retesting from above. Very, very common. And you can see here, this, if we're going to break this, so that is tied all the way over here to where we have no market acceptance here. We just had the one little blip here, but that pivot, right, you can see how this was consistently support. Right, now as we get through it, coming back to test it for support again. Kind of interesting. Now, of course, I notice here, just looking at this, so I'm just wicking off the potential support and resistance zones here, and you kind of look at that and you go, well, damn, that looks like it's perfectly measured. So, of course, first thing I start thinking about is the wolf tool here. So I think we would go wolf 50s here. Looks to me like, well, we could do it either way here. We could do it this way. So if we go this way here, so just grabbing those. So here's our 50. Here's the smack dab in the middle. If we're doing it this way, off of the low here, there's plenty of upside here, but I kind of like this here where we've got this perfect symmetry, this perfect range here that we're in. So if we're gonna come down here, right, it's a question now: are we gonna hold? And it remains to be seen because we've got this divot here, but lots of market support, right? Come here. All of this right here. If we just drill this down a little bit. You got to pay attention to that. So, I'm visible range here, so we're getting some of that. Oh shit! I guess we'd want right up to our low if I can get it right there. Okay, so big cluster here. Now that visible range changes and it brings it down here. So let's go to our low here. Well, it's my point being here that you've got a big cluster here. So visible range is not, well, now here it's tying in all of this action down here. but not to digress too much on that. My point being here that you've definitely got an area of support here, and that will come in a little bit here if this is going to retrace, and in terms of the Elliott count as to where we are in the wave structure. It's not very, I mean, it's open to interpretation, right? That's good news, bad news here. But this structure here certainly implies that whatever we're doing, we've had some sort of an impulsive move, and now we're retracing that, and the implication would be that has certainly the potential to continue. So let's go down. Let's go to a 30-minute here. Okay, so let's look at this here. I got to open this up. All right, so right off the bat, I mean, this is kind of screaming at me. I want to wick this off. All right, so here again, you can see it a little bit more. It's a bit more pronounced here. This low volume node here, because the market just screamed right through it. So you had no time to establish any support or resistance there. It's just a straight rip right through it. So what do we have here? Well, it's something impulsive. Now I kind of went back and forth on this and had a little consult with Sensei Hove. He's often my go-to guy if I'm just kind of looking for some backup on the count here. And I think he and I disagree here a little bit. So my view is that this is all connected. Right? This is all one move. Now I looked. So the alternate, right, that he and I were kind of exploring here is that we could have 1, 2, 3, and then this, because we're holding the channel, the possibility here that this is some sort of an A, B, C, and if we're going to hold here, I'm a little. My issue with that is the length of time of the 2 relative to the 4 and just the size of it all. Now, could that end up being the count? Yeah, sure, of course it could. But I'm more inclined to think that I would prefer the next trade if we've got a completed impulse here. So I'd be counting it something along these lines. Here would be your 3, 4. There's your 5. Let's go into white. Here, let's go. There we go. Now that'll work. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm inclined to think that that's complete. So if I'm right about that, then what we're doing here is just the A, right? There's the B, and then the C going in. Oh, let's change that color. And we'll go up to micro. Okay, so now the 5 here, they all break down at some degree, even down to a 15-minute. If you zoom in there, it's a little shaky, right? Is this a 5? Is this really a 5? No. No, it's not. So I looked at that and thought, well, could we have something, an expanded B wave? But it doesn't quite. So one, as you get down to these smaller time frames, the reliability of the count starts to get shaky. As I always tell people, well, Elliott Wave is most reliable, really 4 hours and above, but I'd throw the 60 in there as well, right? That's often quite good. But when we're down here at the 15-minute, you got so much chop and noise. I think it's dangerous to be leaning too heavily into the wave count down at this level. So let's go to the 60. I understand the temptation to try and get every little squiggle and label it, but I'm not a purist, as I try and remind you guys. So I'm not. Elliott Wave it's a guideline. It's useful, right? It's a tool. It's just another tool. It's not a panacea. It's not the answer. So A, B, C. So I'd want to see. Well, I'd need more than just what I see here, to really get some confidence into where the next entry is. Okay, so you could make a case. All right, we've done the 618, the length of the A. This would be much more common. So if I'm going to try and stack some technical confluence here, well, just off the low, if this is indeed, well, there would be the 50, but let's get a measured move back on here. So this kind of gets my attention. Well, so one, I've got this structure right here at the 50 and the Vegas wave, the 233 sitting right there. We are literally right now, we've just gone into the lips of the Vegas wave here, the front two, right? You see that just in between the two. It's unbelievable how often that happens. Well, so now we start to put this together. Okay, so I got a big low volume node here. I've got the down-sloping trend line. Is that a buy? Well, you'd be playing it as the 4 if that's your buy. God, I like this a whole lot better down here. If we get that, see, that's going to freak people out, right? So the bears will be just all over it. It was just a pump fake. I like actually either one of these here. So I would, if I'm inclined to be a buyer here, which, you know, I'm kind of looking long and hard at that. I do, if it's me, I would do maybe 30% here and the balance right here. I mean, this, so you can look at it and say, okay, well, I can see the case here. Wait, there's a 50. I don't quite, I prefer the 100 here for the A to B to the C. So that's why I would just put a toe in the water here. If we're done here, if this is our 2, could be the 2, right? So we'd be making the 50 here. So now is it the 2 or is it the 4? So I like the 50 a little better here on the idea that that could be the 2. If we're going to come down a little farther down here and get to the golden zone, well, consider this. How many golden zones have we hit here? Right? We're just bouncing from one golden zone all the way out to the weekly. It's just gone golden zone to golden zone, right? So this is the dominant. This is what's driving the market here. So if we're going to come down here, I don't want to be, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I don't want to be taking that drawdown because I'm anticipating we're likely to come down here. But, right, so this is always the conundrum, right? If you don't take a piece of it here, and that's where it turns because of the structure, be it low volume, the 50, I mean, certainly nothing says that we must go to the golden zone. I don't want to miss that piece of it there. So if we get something like that, well, then you can add a little more there. So I'm more inclined to wait for that test here at the 50. Yeah, that would be getting through this downsloping trend line here, but a little overthrow here to get back in and then come back up. This is a judgment call to the individual as to whether or not you want to have a limit order sitting there. I'd rather see the reaction and then maybe a retest, something like that. So if we came down through this, let's just take a look here. Okay, so there's, do you guys see that, right? It's just the same thing always, guys. It's always the same thing. So here's the 50, right? Now here's our target. But you look at that and you go, do I have a 5 there? I don't think you can squeeze a 5 out of that, right? It would sure be ugly. I mean, I'm still on a 60. Can't say I love that, right? So I see it, right? So let's look at everything we've got here. All right, Vegas wave, algo target, downsloping trend line. So we'd be close to the 38. We've got the structure here. I don't hate it, but see, for me, so I'm already long. So I'm okay if I don't get the pivot here. But like I said, I do think this is worth, I'd want to see how do we react at that 50. I would try and stack a little bit more here because it's so, is it the 2? Is it the 4? It'd be interesting to see how the market responds, right? So the anticipation, we got a rate cut coming today, that should send the market flying higher, right? If that's risk on, Bitcoin has been moving with the S&P, right, with stock indexes seems to be risk on, risk off kind of a thing happening, and Bitcoin's participating in that or tagging along. A, B, do you have 5 there? I don't think so. So, I mean, even trying to get, can you get, so if you're trying to label it, you'd have to go 1, 2, doesn't look like it's done, does it? 3, 4, 5 seems more probable to me. So I'd be willing to miss, if this is going to turn here, Vegas wave, right, all the things I talked about. If this is going to turn here, well, you're going to have multiple resistance to get through. Well, we're going to have that anyway. So if this is our low, let's get this one off. If that's our low, and we're going to pivot right here. So we'll use the trend line in the Vegas wave. So, for whatever, right? So let's just say it pivots there. Well, you got to get through all that. You don't have a clean count here. I just like it lower here. So it's just we're coming back here. So we'd say 8,500 to this range here, and then kind of putting all of this back into play here. That's probably worth wicking off here as well. Right, so you just kind of stack this up. Then you can do the exact same thing we did above, right? Where's the center line? Could we get down here? It's hard not to like that technically, right? It would just, the whole thing would make more sense. So putting that all back together, we'd be from our low here, right, would tee you right up here. That's what I think is more probable here. Right now, of course, we're going to, so this is all of this resistance here, just that's how we get internal, right? We get it, then we're looking for the external, right? It's just, that's all this is, just a series of internal and external retracements. That's what creates the wave structure. So this is what I mean, so this is 85-ish, call it 85, 86. I love it there. I'm a little reluctant here. But, individual trader's choice. Well, then you take a, I mean, so you'd be, the 50 here is at 88. The golden zone's at 85, so it's it's not a huge difference, right? Depending on the size and your risk tolerance, and are you gonna panic, right? If it's going down here and you're taking drawdown, so I'd not do that on leverage for sure. But just if you're using Elliott Wave, it's hard to see how we're done here, no doubt about it. So this hard not to like that. So I'd be waiting for that. Then we go. Now here, I'd go full load there. Right, so if it comes down here, if you don't take a piece at the 50 and you're coming down here, you can be aggressive here. I'd just put the stop under the 65. All right, so if we're going to do a 1-2, I would rather take the small loser there if we're going deeper. We're going to go down 786, something like this. This whole thing is going to get, we're going to go that deep down here to challenge this low. I don't want to take that drawdown. I'd rather take the small loser here, right? Get out, reevaluate. Let's see what comes next. That's my view. But this area here, I think you can be aggressive there. All right, that's for a little midweek update on Bitcoin. There's no reason to force anything. Right? This is encouraging, but we're not out of the woods yet. All right, guys, there you go. All right, back to you in a little bit.